The Philippines is one of the most distinctive countries on Earth, not because it is built around one large landmass, but because it is spread across thousands of islands in the western Pacific Ocean. Officially called the Republic of the Philippines, it is an archipelagic country in Southeast Asia made up of about 7,641 islands. Together, they cover roughly 300,000 square kilometers, but the real story is not only the land area. It is the way the sea connects communities, cultures, trade routes, and histories. For centuries, water was not a barrier here, it was a highway. Boats carried people, languages, religions, goods, and empires into the archipelago, shaping a society that is deeply local in its island identities yet globally connected in its outlook. Geographically, the country is usually understood through three major divisions: Luzon in the north, the Visayas in the center, and Mindanao in the south. Luzon is home to the capital region and much of the country's political and economic power. The Visayas, scattered across central islands, are known for dense maritime links, historic trade, and strong regional cultures. Mindanao, the second-largest island, is rich in resources, agricultural land, and cultural diversity, including significant Muslim communities with histories that long predate modern borders. This north-to-south structure gives the Philippines a layered geography. It is not a country with one single center of identity, but a network of islands where languages, livelihoods, and traditions can shift dramatically over relatively short distances. The Philippines sits between major bodies of water that have shaped both its security and its economy. To the west is the South China Sea, to the east the Philippine Sea, and to the south the Celebes Sea. Across these waters are maritime neighbors including Taiwan, Japan, Palau, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, and China. This position places the Philippines at a strategic crossroads. It faces the Pacific, but it is also tied to mainland and island Southeast Asia. Its waters are fishing grounds, shipping lanes, and geopolitical flashpoints. This geography has made the country outward-looking by necessity. Migration, overseas work, trade, defense partnerships, and maritime disputes all reflect a country whose borders are not walls, but coastlines. With more than 114 million people, the Philippines is among the world's most populous countries. Its capital is Manila, but its most populated city is Quezon City, and both are part of the larger Metro Manila region. Metro Manila functions as the political, financial, media, and cultural core of the country, but it also reveals many of the pressures facing a fast-growing nation: congestion, housing demand, inequality, and the pull of urban opportunity. The country's population is young, mobile, and deeply connected to the global economy. Millions of Filipinos live or work abroad, sending remittances and building global family networks. This diaspora is one reason the Philippines has influence far beyond its physical size. Long before modern states or colonial borders, the islands were inhabited by diverse peoples. Among the earliest were Negrito communities, followed over time by waves of Austronesian peoples who brought seafaring skills, farming practices, languages, and social structures that spread across the archipelago. Early Philippine societies were not isolated villages cut off from the world. Many were coastal and river-based communities linked by trade and kinship. Local leaders governed settlements that varied in size and influence, and their relationships often depended on alliances, tribute, marriage, and commerce. Because the islands were scattered, political authority developed in many centers rather than under one unified empire. This helped create the diversity that still defines the country today. Religion and culture in the pre-colonial Philippines were shaped by multiple currents. Indigenous animist beliefs were widespread, connecting communities to spirits, ancestors, nature, and ritual practices. Over time, Hindu and Buddhist influences arrived through trade networks, especially from neighboring regions connected to larger Asian civilizations. Islam also took root, particularly in parts of the south, where sultanates and Muslim communities developed enduring political and cultural traditions. Chinese traders arrived through extensive overseas commerce with powerful dynasties such as the Tang and Song, and many Chinese migrants gradually settled and intermarried. The result was an archipelago that absorbed outside influences without becoming a simple copy of any one civilization. Its cultures were blended, adaptive, and maritime. A major turning point came with European arrival. Ferdinand Magellan reached the islands in the early 16th century, marking the beginning of sustained Spanish interest. In 1543, Spanish explorer Ruy López de Villalobos named the archipelago Las Islas Filipinas in honor of King Philip II of Spain. Spanish colonization did not instantly control every island, but it gradually transformed much of the archipelago's political and religious landscape. Catholicism became the dominant religion, and Spanish colonial institutions reorganized communities around churches, towns, taxation, and imperial administration. Manila became especially important as a colonial capital. It was not just a local city, it became the western hub of trans-Pacific trade connecting Asia, the Americas, and Europe. Under Spanish rule, the Philippines became part of a global imperial system. Manila's role in trans-Pacific trade linked the archipelago to Mexico, Latin America, China, and Spain. Goods, silver, people, and ideas moved through the Manila galleon trade, creating a rare connection between Asia and the Americas. Hispanic immigrants from Latin America and Iberia also came to the islands, though settlement patterns were selective and uneven. Spanish rule left deep cultural marks: Catholic festivals, surnames, architecture, legal traditions, and vocabulary. But colonial rule also produced resistance. Local grievances over land, labor, power, and inequality accumulated over centuries, eventually feeding nationalist movements that imagined the islands as one political community rather than a collection of colonial territories. The Philippine Revolution began in 1896, as Filipino revolutionaries challenged Spanish rule and pushed for independence. But the struggle became entangled with the Spanish-American War of 1898. Spain ceded the Philippines to the United States, even as Filipino revolutionaries declared the First Philippine Republic. This created a sharp contradiction, a people claiming independence while a new foreign power asserted control. The Philippine-American War followed, ending with the United States controlling the territory. American rule brought new schools, English language education, infrastructure, and political institutions, but it was still colonial rule. The Philippines entered the 20th century shaped by competing promises: modernization, self-government, and independence, all under the shadow of foreign authority. World War II became another defining rupture. The Japanese invaded the islands, placing the Philippines at the center of a brutal Pacific conflict. Cities, towns, and communities suffered enormous destruction, and Manila became one of the most devastated capitals of the war. After the United States retook the Philippines from Japan, the country finally became independent in 1946. Independence did not erase the legacies of colonial rule, war damage, or economic dependency, but it gave Filipinos formal sovereignty over their state. The post-war republic had to rebuild institutions, cities, and national confidence while navigating a world divided by Cold War politics and shaped by close ties to the United States. Modern Philippine politics has included both democratic energy and authoritarian crisis. One of the most consequential periods came under Ferdinand Marcos, who declared martial law in 1972 and ruled as a dictator until the 1980s. Martial law centralized power, restricted freedoms, and became associated with corruption, human rights abuses, and political repression. In 1986, the People Power Revolution overthrew Marcos and restored democratic rule. This event became globally symbolic, masses of citizens gathering in the streets to confront authoritarian power through collective action. Yet democracy after 1986 did not solve every problem. The Philippines continued to wrestle with political dynasties, inequality, corruption, and the challenge of building institutions strong enough to serve a diverse archipelago. Economically, the Philippines is an emerging market, a developing country, and a newly industrialized economy in transition. Historically agricultural, it has increasingly shifted towards services and manufacturing. Business process outsourcing, overseas remittances, tourism, electronics, and domestic consumption all play major roles. The country is also part of ASEAN and other international forums, giving it a voice in regional diplomacy and trade. But growth has not been evenly shared. Poverty, inequality, infrastructure gaps, and widespread corruption remain serious obstacles. The Philippine economy often shows impressive resilience, but its challenge is turning growth into broad-based opportunity across islands, regions, and social classes, rather than concentrating benefits in a few urban centers. The Philippines is also one of the world's most biologically rich countries. Its islands, mountains, forests, reefs, and coastal ecosystems support a globally significant level of biodiversity. At the same time, its location makes life especially vulnerable to natural hazards. The country lies within the Pacific Ring of Fire, making earthquakes and volcanic activity part of its reality. Its position near the equator and in the path of Pacific weather systems exposes it to monsoon rains and powerful typhoons. These disasters can destroy homes, farms, roads, and livelihoods, especially for poorer communities. Yet Filipinos have built a culture of resilience through preparedness, migration, rebuilding, mutual aid, and adaptation. To understand the Philippines is to see a country shaped by connection, island to island, Asia to the Pacific, local tradition to global migration, colonial memory to modern democracy. Its history includes indigenous societies, Asian trade, Spanish Catholic influence, American rule, Japanese occupation, revolution, dictatorship, and people-powered resistance. Its present includes fast growth, cultural influence, environmental risk, and unresolved inequality. The Philippines cannot be reduced to beaches, cities, or a single historical narrative. It is a nation of many centers, many languages, and many memories, held together by shared institutions, faiths, families, and ambitions. Across 7,641 islands, its story is one of constant movement, adaptation, and survival. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.